Hey guys, Adrienne here from Adventures of Carlienne with our second part of the ice cream series, and the most important, chocolate. Apparently though, chocolate ice cream is way more complicated than I thought it was going to be, and it matters how you introduce the chocolate, like chocolate or cocoa powder or even chocolate liqueur, and that's going to change everything from fat content to freezing point to flavor. So you have things to consider like cocoa butter, which is found mostly in your chocolate, not as much in your cocoa powder since that's almost purely cocoa solids. And that's going to change the flavor a little bit. So powder purists will kind of argue that that packs the intensity, gives you that really chocolatey flavor. However, others say that chocolate made purely with powder tastes like chocolate powder ice cream, which is kind of gross sounding. So we figured the safer bet is to start with the chocolate, so you kind of get those complex notes. And we're taking two of our favorite bases that we tried from last week, the peach French and the Sicilian, that were kind of what we figured best for richer, decadent flavors. And we're gonna make a side-by-side comparison of those two. And we're also gonna do one more version where we do include a little bit of cocoa powder, since people say that's kind of like the sweet spot. And then we're just gonna compare for best texture and the perfect flavor. So let's give it a go. First up is our Ben's recipe from Ben & Jerry's. You need whole milk, heavy cream, chocolate, eggs, sugar, salt, and vanilla. You start by pouring 1 cup of milk into your pot, and we're gonna add our 4 ounces of chocolate, and we're gonna let that come together and create basically a chocolate milk. This is perfect for drinking just on its own. Once this mixture is completely incorporated, we're gonna set it aside, put it in the fridge to chill. And once this mix is fully chilled, we can begin to combine all the other ingredients. We're gonna use a blender just for ease. We're gonna throw in 2 pasteurized eggs, 3/4 cup of sugar, and give that a mix. While that's going, we're gonna pour in our 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. We're using a 40% cream here, and also our chocolate milk. We're gonna let that combine fully, and then we're gonna give a healthy pinch of kosher salt, just to enhance that chocolate flavor. Throw in a tablespoon of vanilla extract, and let it combine. Once that's all finished, we're gonna pour it into a separate container, throw it back into the fridge so it can chill completely. Once that mix is cold, we can go ahead and throw it in the churner. Then let it do its thing. Once it's done, we can put it into a clean container and set it in the freezer to freeze for at least 4 hours before serving. Next up, we're gonna do Jerry's recipe, which includes cocoa powder. You're gonna need whole milk, heavy cream, chocolate, cocoa powder, sugar, eggs, vanilla, and salt. You're gonna start with your 1.5 cups of milk and 1/3 cup of cocoa powder. Give that a nice mix, then throw in your 2 ounces of chocolate. Once that's combined, we're gonna go ahead and pour that through a sieve just to make sure we don't have any lumps. Again, take this chocolate milk, put it in the fridge, let that cool. Once it's cooled, we're gonna combine everything in the blender, your 2 pasteurized eggs, 3/4 cup of sugar, pour in your 1 cup of heavy cream, and give that a mix. You can totally do this by hand and not in the blender too, by the way. Then take your pinch of salt, your 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and lastly, your chocolate mix. Let everything combine, let the flavors marry, then pour that mix into another container, fridge it, let it cool for at least 2 hours before churning. When it's thoroughly chilled, go ahead and throw it in the churner and watch the magic happen. Once that's churned, go ahead and put it into a container, freeze it for at least 4 hours before serving. This recipe is pretty close to the Ben's, just substituting the cocoa powder for some of that chocolate. Next up, we have the Sicilian style, which is basically a chocolate gelato. This one calls for whole milk, chocolate, sugar, and cornstarch. Easy peasy. Once again, you're gonna start by making your chocolate milk. Take 3 cups of whole milk, throw in your 4 ounces of chocolate, and bring that together. In a separate container, you're going to combine your 3/4 cup of sugar and your 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. And then you're going to add a little bit of your chocolate milk to that mix and create a slurry before pouring all of that back into your main pot. Cook that until it thickens, then pour it into a container to chill in the refrigerator for at least a couple hours before churning. Once chilled, go ahead and pour that into the machine for churning. You might notice it thickens a little bit faster this time. The cornstarch really does magic here. Once it's finished churning, go ahead and put it into a container, freeze it for at least 4 hours before serving. And before serving, don't forget to defrost your ice cream a little bit. Chocolate ice cream tends to have a little bit harder consistency than your typical vanilla or any other flavor. So those are the results of our first attempt at chocolate ice cream. Now you might have recognized those recipes. They're pretty similar to our favorite bases. If you haven't seen that video, make sure you check that out. No surprise, one of our favorites, the PH French, which came from the Ben & Jerry's recipe, which we don't have the book actually, so we should probably really get that. But we managed to find the recipe online, and the Ben's chocolate recipe is one of our favorites. It's definitely recognizably the Ben & Jerry's chocolate base for like a ton of their mix-in flavors, which we agree it's like the perfect chocolate ice cream for mixing in other things. But if you're looking for that perfect, just by itself, standalone, perfect ice cream, I felt personally that it was a little bit lacking the intensity or the richness of chocolate ice cream, at least for someone who's a big fan of dark chocolate. So I was really hoping that the Sicilian would turn out a lot more like decadent, punching you in the face with chocolate flavor. But surprisingly, it totally fell flat. The texture kind of ended up being a little bit more icy, and that might be because this recipe asked for 3 cups of milk and no cream, which was definitely surprising to us, and it just totally completely missed the mark. That icy mouthfeel really took away from any chocolate flavor. So being a little disappointed in that, we went back to our original Sicilian recipe and just added 4 ounces of chocolate. So did a double boiler, melted the chocolate, and then mixed it in and then threw it in the churner. And that one turned out actually really good. The texture when it freezes was a little chalkier, so we were alarmed. But then if you defrost it enough, and when you actually place it in your mouth, it melts and feels like you're eating chocolate, which is, I don't know, that's my goal when I'm eating chocolate ice cream. So even though the texture is a little bit more like fudge and it's a little off-putting for ice cream, the flavor was definitely there. So I think we're gonna go ahead and stick to the original Sicilian base that we used, adding the 4 ounces of melted chocolate, and we're gonna tweak that from there, and then we're gonna take the Ben's chocolate ice cream as a base for our mixing in recipes like, adding fudge brownie or something like that. By the way, chocolate fudge brownie is my favorite Ben & Jerry's ice cream, just saying. So anyways, I hope that was helpful. It was a little exciting, maybe sparked some interest in experimenting on your own. If you guys are familiar with chocolate ice cream or using chocolate in ice cream and have inside advice, please let us know, because there's a lot going on and it's totally over my head, but I'm willing to commit to this endeavor. All right, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, share all those good things. We super appreciate it and your time and your love. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.